Good, good. Busy as usual, but all right. No complaints.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you in London or are you in Florida?
Now I'm in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. Good deal. All right. Well, hey, nice to finally meet you here virtually. And my name is Andre, and we're here with the Speaker Life podcast. So let's go ahead and waste no more time.
Wonderful.
All right, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Speaker Life podcast. My name is Andre Fluella, and I'm your host. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get your content and follow us on Instagram at SpeakerLYFE because life without your Y is meaningless. Today's guest is from my hometown of Fayetteville, Georgia, where he was a legend at our high school track team. Shout out to Sandy Creek. Then he went on to the University of Florida, where he won the indoor championship in 2011 for triple jump, leaving his final year of college to pursue some major career successes as the world champion in 2013, 15, and 17 for triple jump. And to top it all off, he won gold medals in London 2012 and Rio 2016 Olympics for triple jump, scoring the second best of all time in this event. He has also recently just launched the Athletics Association, a new union which aims to give elite track and field athletes greater say in the future of the sport. His most recent win happened last month, returning and graduating from the University of Florida with a bachelor's degree. Please welcome Christian Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice job. Well
Yes.
done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, thank you so much for, first of all, thank you for joining this podcast. It's cool because one, I'm a fan, and two, it's cool to have my first Sandy Creek alum on here. So that's
Nice.
what's up.
Well, appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, it's good for hometown love, but yeah, no, I'm glad we could finally connect. And I know we've been trying this through the holiday season and everything, but this is the best way to start a new year. So thanks for your understanding and making this happen in the end.
Most definitely, most definitely. So, hey man, so tell the audience your 5 minute life story, like because people know you as the athlete, the people know you as the Olympic champion, but we want to know a little bit more about where you started and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, so as you said, I'm from Fayetteville, Georgia, and um, yeah, Georgia's just always had my heart until I went to the University of Florida, and then I just became really Florida. I mean, there's two seasons in Florida, like we have
Yeah.
spring and summer. We don't have a winter,
Hmm.
and so that's always really nice, especially for training. But just outside of that,
Hmm.
I just don't do the cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents, my family is from Barbados, so got the
Hmm.
Caribbean upbringing and this was very important for me growing up. Always spending the summers in Barbados and just getting a different perspective on just the way we grew up and values and all these things. I think this was very important for basically how I was molded and yeah, just
Hmm.
just the way I view things. Um, and then, yeah, after college, after 2011, my junior year, I went professional to prepare for my first Olympic Games, which would have been in
Hmm.
London. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, after that, actually I moved abroad. So I was training in Daytona Beach for 2012. And in 2013, I moved to the UK. And,
Hmm.
you know, from that point, from 2012 to 19, I actually lived abroad, and so I was living in UK. I lived in the Netherlands for a few years,
Hmm.
and now I'm back in Florida, but I split track and field. The heart is in Europe, and so I split half my time in Europe and half my time in the US. And I'm actually engaged now. Set to be married at the end of the year, and my fiance
Nice.
is
Nice.
actually Austrian. So in the
Hmm.
summers now I'm spending my time in Austria and the fall, winter, spring, whatever in Florida. So it's a really cool balance. But outside of the track world, I'm very passionate. I'm very yeah motivated and encouraged by the youth and giving back to the next generation. And so yeah, I do a lot of work for the last 7 years. I've been working with a nonprofit called Classroom Champions, and it's basically
Hmm.
taking Olympians and giving life lessons and building relationships with kids in low, um, basically lower, socioeconomic areas and just showing them that, if you have a dream, if you have a passion, don't let the environment dictate, the outcome and you have
Hmm.
every right to be a president. You have every right to be an Olympic champ. You have every right to be whatever you wish to be. Don't
Yeah.
allow what you see around you or your circumstances hold you back from that. And so a dream is a dream,
Mm.
regardless of who it's coming from. And so this has been so special to me because of course, this program does really try to connect Olympians, and that is the biggest push because if the kids are watching the Olympics and then they see, oh, that was the person I saw swimming, that was the person I saw running, they can almost make that
Hmm.
connection, and that's very special for them. But then once they dig deeper and they build these relationships, they realize that we are no different than them, and so I
Hmm.
think that is very unique. Um, but in the last 7 years, I mean, I've spoken to hundreds of kids and kids. Again, the program is in Canada and the U.S., so I've worked with kids in California to New York to Florida to Georgia to all over, and it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
been amazing. It's been also an added motivation factor. Because
Hmm.
now I'm no longer just competing for myself, but I know I'm a role model, and we're setting
Yeah.
goals at the beginning of the year, and they're saying, well, if I can just graduate college, I'd be the first person in my family to graduate, and things like this. It puts
Mm.
in perspective, like, yeah, you hear stories about this, but now I'm working with kids that, their parents had them early, and so they had to go straight into the working field,
Mm.
but they're like,
Mm.
yeah, I really want to be a college graduate, and I say, oh, what does that mean to you? Well, I don't know, but I
Yeah.
just know I got to be a college graduate. So it's been such an amazing experience, but it's just been a great way to just kind of give back and do a little bit more than just jumping far.
Mm. Wow, man, I didn't even know that. That's really cool. That's really
Yeah,
awesome that you do that because there's so many people out there that achieve great success and they maybe don't take the time to think outside of themselves or get outside of themselves to invest in other people, invest in the future because the next generation is always going to be the ones that are going to be taking care of us and the
right,
next servicing roles, and so we have to pour into them. We have to realize that they are important assets to uh, life after our time of being in careers and our time of
right.
being in society, so to speak. So, man, so to get more back to like about you personally, because I know you ran track, obviously, and you play football too at Sandy Creek. So, any
Yeah,
other
I
sports?
tried. I tried football. But that was
Yeah.
short lived, man. I'm not somebody. I don't like all that physical touch. Like, get off
Mm.
me. Like I like my
Yeah.
lane. I like my space. But
That's
no, yeah,
right.
I did golf. Yeah, football, tennis,
Hmm.
pretty much all American. Like I tried it all. Baseball. Couldn't hit for to save my life, but I tried it all. And that's the thing. Like
Yeah.
my parents were I think it was a great gift. I mean, my parents just said, "Hey, just try it. Don't knock it before you try it, and
Hmm.
find out if it's for you or not." And for baseball, I think I did one baseball camp, and I was like, "Yeah, this is not for me." So it was
Yeah.
just. But the thing
Yeah.
is, at least I can sit back and be like, "Well, I gave it a shot." I didn't just knock it
Yeah.
because of something I heard or something like. So I really tried it all, and yeah, I think you get to learn about yourself, through these things. So
Hmm.
yeah, I also realized doing the team sports was not for me. I played
Hmm.
soccer pretty much all my life also, and I I just really struggled with the fact that no matter how hard I worked, if somebody was not putting in the work also, that their performance
Hmm.
affected mine. So
Mm.
as we win or we lose as a team. So I could be
Yeah.
practicing every day, I could be putting in the work, I could be like grinding hard, but if this person is really doing the exact opposite, well, their performance affects how we do. And
Mm.
you're
Mm.
only as strong as your weakest link. And if you have too many weak links, then and this mentality for me was just very
Hmm.
difficult. They say, yeah, well, this is an opportunity. You have to step up and be a leader. Yeah, that's fine, but that's just not for me. Like, I want to know what I
Mm.
put in is what I get out.
That's
And
right.
so I just keep myself accountable. I'm responsible for myself. And that's when track and field for me took off because I was like, okay, we have the team atmosphere, the team title stuff,
Hmm.
but I know that if I want to be the fastest, if I want to jump the furthest, well, I just have to put the work in, and then those numbers will reflect it. And so for me, that's when track was like, all right, that's my sport.
Yeah. 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 And I found out for me it was not my sport because I actually ran with your I ran with your sister Kaylin
Yeah,
when
yeah,
we graduated 2012 and I tried the 800, which I found to be what they call the real man's race
I
because
don't know
you
why.
got to
Yeah, yeah,
think like a mile runner, but you got to
yep,
run like a 400 runner. So
yep.
you had a little piece of the 400 too. So
But
yeah,
that
yeah, I remember
800 is a
that.
beast. I would never try the
Woo!
800. You see what I'm saying? Like I gotta, cause I'm like I don't want to like pass where I started. That doesn't
Yeah,
make sense to
yeah.
me. Like one time
Mm.
is good enough, and to do that, yeah, yeah, that is a man's race for sure.
Oh man, but yeah. So walk us through that moment where you went through all these different sports and your parents encouraged you to try everything and anything you could, and walk us through that moment where you got to the point where you're just like, I found the one, I found my true love.
Yeah, just of course, when I had that reality check that what I put in is what I get out. But then also once I
Mm-hmm.
started getting the scholarship offers, the letters at the
Mm-hmm.
school and also at home, I was like, okay, there's something there. There's some potential there. Um,
Yeah.
but then once I got to the University of Florida and I won my first national championship in about 6 months, then I thought,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there's like, yeah, I'm like faith is very big for me, and so I thought of course,
Mm-hmm.
I'm training hard. I've noticed that I'm talented, but there's no reason that I should be at the top of all the other collegiate athletes so quickly. This is not
Mm-hmm.
normal for a freshman. And then I just started saying, well, God, there must be something that God wants me to do in this area. And again,
Mm-hmm.
that just skyrocketed. That took off, and 3 years later, I was a world champion. And I thought, well, you don't just get promoted like this so quickly, you cannot do that by yourself, and so that's when really my
Mm-hmm.
faith just took off, and I just started saying, all right, well, obviously I'm supposed to be here. I feel that, this is where I should be, but how can I now use this platform for good? What is
Yeah.
what is really the end goal? Why did you choose me to be this person? And that's what I've just been chasing ever since.
I love that. I love that. As a man of faith myself, I definitely connect to that, and I know that I believe that Tim Tebow was there in University of Florida during the
Correct.
time that
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
were. Did you ever get to
Exactly.
meet him?
Yeah, yeah. So all the athletes, I mean, we all do football, basketball. We all eat together. We have a lot of
Yeah.
same classes, things like that. So yeah, I was really at the University of Florida at a phenomenal time. I mean, we had two national
Yeah.
championships when I was there.
Woo. I
Joakim
remember
Noah. So I mean, college was crazy. When
that.
teams would win in the city is because in Gainesville there's nothing else but the universities. So the
That's true.
town was really just bumping. And it
Hmm.
was it was a good time to be at school.
Nice. Yes. Yeah. That unfortunately that was the time that you guys beat my Ohio State Buckeyes in football. So.
Yeah, but then y'all took our coach, so I think we can
Yeah.
call it even.
Yeah, I guess so. We did take a national championship out of him. So,
Right.
yeah, I guess you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
So,
y'all got Urban, so come on.
I guess we're thankful. So,
Right.
but yeah, yeah. But yeah. So, just being in a circle of athletes, and if you don't mind me asking, like, just when you met Tim Tebow, how was the interaction? Like, um, I don't know,
Yeah,
like,
I mean, at the end of
was
the
he?
day, when I was there, he was just another student athlete. Like,
Yeah.
of course, these athletes. I mean, because I mean, to say the same thing, I was at the college also with Aaron Hernandez. So it's almost yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
both extremes, but at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, we are all
Yeah.
just student athletes. We go into class together,
Yeah.
and what you do on a Saturday, what you do on a Friday, for basketball and things like that, yeah, it's special, and we could say, yo, like, great job this weekend or something, but we were
Yeah.
just classmates.
Exactly.
And so I did feel for people like Tim. I did feel for the Joakim Noahs because their campus experience was a lot different. If they
Mm,
would go on a bus, then you would see just a bunch of people flock and get on the bus to take the selfies, to
yeah.
take these pictures and things like this. But in the class
Mm-hmm.
or when we were dining, because again, the athletes just had very specific dining halls, and so then it was just very casual that I could sit next to the Pounceys, like Mike Pouncey
Mm-hmm.
and all this. And yeah, now everyone sees them in the NFL and stuff like this, but for me, we were all just sitting in a dining hall.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
it was a very unique experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so and at the end of the day, people are people, like you said. And so that's good that you guys were. I think, it's good to have that mindset whenever it doesn't matter if you're meeting somebody that you looked up to as an Olympian or anything like that. Like people are still people and they
That's it.
still share a lot of traits. Like they want love, they want to laugh, they want to live. And so
Exactly.
I love it.
That's
I
the
love
core.
that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you seem like, just watching interviews and stuff like that, you seem like one of those people. How do you maintain that drive, that confidence, but also maintain the humility, being in the limelight?
Yeah, so the humility, as I said from before, the humility comes just from the kids I work with.
Hmm.
I believe I'm a role model for them, and I can. Yeah, the first question years ago when I first started the program, the most popular
Hmm.
question was, "What car do you have? How big is your house? Blah blah." And I'd say, "I don't have a car. I'm
Oh,
renting an
wow.
apartment." And they would say,
Hmm.
"Yeah, but you won the Olympics. You must have money. You must have." And I said, "Yeah, one doesn't
Mm.
always have to equal another.
Yeah.
I choose to use my money differently. But
Hmm.
um, you know, th- there's been a created like gap between fans and celebrities or athletes and stuff. But as you said, we all have the same wants and needs, and the
Hmm.
humility comes from I don't see myself any different than the kids that I work with because I'm not.
Hmm.
I was once
Yeah.
somebody looking up to somebody and saying, "Wow, one day I want to be a Usain Bolt, a Michael Phelps. I want to be a Michael Johnson." Like I would
Hmm.
watch Mike Tyson fight and be like, I wish the world would watch me compete like this.
Mm.
And but at the end of the day, I mean, they've all had problems. They've all had, so they're no different than us. And I think this is where the humility constantly hits me. That why should I see myself differently? Why should I treat anybody different when I am no different than you? And
Hmm.
so, but the drive, this just comes from right now. I'm in the position, as you stated, I've got the number two. I've got the second farthest jump of all time. I don't have the
Hmm.
world record, and I don't want to be in the number two position. No one's going
Yeah.
to remember that when I finish. They're always going to say the world record holder is this, and that's not my name right now. So for me, this is
Hmm.
what drives me. I'm extremely grateful. I consider myself very blessed to have reached the distance that I have. But at the
Hmm.
end of the day, I'm the second person, and I want to be in that number
Yeah.
one spot. So that's what drives me every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And so knowing that you passed Teddy and Nelson Evora
Hmm.
and on your way now to Jonathan Edwards' record,
Yep.
what are the ways that you prepare for record-breaking moments like this, which you will pass without letting
Thanks.
it define you?
Um, yeah, I mean, this is where faith, if you read in, the Bible that,
Hmm.
we shouldn't boast. These gifts, these talents, they don't come from us anyway. So I could work
Yeah,
all day and all night and stuff, but it's a gift. And so
exactly.
this is then when the faith comes in, it's like, yeah, I mean, trust me, God is the king of humility. He is very good that if you even start to feel that you are the man
Hmm.
or a lady, God is like, sit down.
Yeah.
So trust me, I've had my humility moments.
Hmm.
And so I can say these things from experience that
Hmm.
sometimes I'm like, you know what, like I am doing good. I did lift a PB this today. I did, and God is like, yeah, you did that through me. And
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
it's even moments like that. So even if I do surpass the world record, God willing, it's gonna be that's great. I know where my strength comes from.
Hmm.
But how do you want me to use that platform? And this is what I'm speaking. I'm very close with my pastors, whether here or abroad. But I keep
Hmm.
a close relationship because I really struggled. Why am I in this position? What is this platform
Mm.
for? And they would say, yeah, God has given you the ability for success, but He's also given you the
Yeah.
ability to reach people globally. And it's a lot of people really ask me. The most common question is not how do you jump far, but what is your mindset when you go into a competition? How do you handle defeat? How do you? And there's so many mental things that now people are reaching out for. It's not, you know, I would have
Hmm.
thought it would have been, well, how do you get faster? How do you get stronger? I don't get these questions. I get,
Yeah.
I'm really nervous. I have a competition. How do you fight nerves? How do you? And this is what I believe I've been given this platform for to be like, look, put it in God's hands. And this is
Amen.
like opportunities where I can just constantly just be a disciple. Like just really just
Hmm.
pour that out to people. Hey, win, lose, or draw, God loves you regardless. So
Yeah.
find peace in that. Then when you have that,
Hmm.
how do you have so much fun when you compete? Yeah, because I know I'm loved whether I win or lose.
Mm.
And this takes so much pressure off my shoulders.
Hmm. I agree. I agree. And I like what you said earlier about how he's like the king of humility, And I heard this quote that says there's two kinds of people in the world. There's people who are humble and people who are about to be humbled. So that's
I like that one. That is a
I
good one.
love I love that quote. I heard it in devotional one time on campus,
Wow.
and I was just like, man, that's so true. So it's important. It's important to have, and it keeps you level-headed because sometimes people get so focused on their past successes that they
Right.
can't even focus on like the here and now, like what's in front of me. And there are moments where maybe people need they need time to slow down. They need time to just allow themselves to be distracted. And I always think about Jefferson Bethke. He has like a podcast with John Mark Comer, and it's about like just decreasing hustle and just going so fast and just start going at a slower pace because sometimes you need distracting moments. You need to be distracted in life as Jesus was and many other
Absolutely.
great
Yeah.
people. And I wouldn't even call them a distraction, but the kids are a great way to just think about it that way and just the way that you've maybe slowed down and you're not so, oh, I want to be in a fast life, I want to be in a,
Right.
just want to move so fast. But I'm not judging anybody, and everybody has a different lifestyle, but this is what you've chosen. This is your
Right.
lifestyle, and so that's very, commendable and respectable. So
Oh, thank
I definitely, I admire that. So, um, and so we were speaking, and you mentioned earlier about London too, and how did your London experience shape you in your career as well, just living there?
you. Oh, yeah, living abroad was the first 2 years was tough. It was very exciting.
Hmm.
Because I was like, man, I'm right outside of London. I'm gonna be
Hmm.
living that European life. Like
Yeah.
living the what you think on social media and stuff. But then I realized, yeah, actually, I was homesick. Like
Mm.
my sister was just, I mean, yeah, as you know, is just getting into college then. Because it was after
Hmm.
2012 Olympics. You guys just
Yeah.
graduated high school, and it was like, well, college
Yes,
around the
sir.
corner, and I was like, dang, man, like my baby sister's going to school. Like now she didn't even have me to just be like, hey, like let me just come through, let me just chill with you, let me bounce some things off you. And so
Hmm.
I felt so distant because I was also 5 hours ahead. So we had this time,
Yeah.
like this time difference issue, and so then I just started like really getting homesick. But then she would really actually just push me up and just be like, hey, this is your dream, stay focused on that. Like I'm gonna be fine,
Hmm.
but you just gotta stay focused on your dream. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
be here. And so which was very weird because I always saw her as like my baby sister, and she was like I'm good,
Yeah.
and that's why I was like, all right, well you grew up real quick, but yeah, then really once once I really got into the swing of things, once I got put in my place
Hmm.
and started just focusing on why I'm there, this is my job, what am I doing it for? I started with the Classroom Champions program. Once I started just getting comfortable, then it was really, I stopped thinking of where I wasn't, and as you said, just being present. Um,
Hmm.
and once I just sold into that, bought into that, I- everything changed. I
Hmm.
started to train better and live better, and
Yeah.
because I felt away from everything, it actually again made me strengthen my faith. Because
Hmm.
I no longer had the distractions. Before I was very comfortable and my friends were here, my family was here, but then I felt like I was in the wilderness. I just felt by myself.
Hmm.
And so I was like,
Hmm.
all right, well, to find that peace, again, that is when I found the church that like I call home, all that stuff,
Hmm.
and so all these things happened, but yeah, the first 2 years was difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, um I can't say I know what it's like to be there, but I will say I have a small um, I guess a small connection to that
Yeah,
experience because I got to study abroad in London, and when I was in college for about a month, and just even being there for only a month, that did create a sense of being homesick,
right.
and you imagine just I'm just trying to imagine you were there for like more than a month, but for 2 years, and so
Yeah,
it's just crazy because home is where your community is, where the people that you've known all your life, and then you go
correct.
somewhere that's so distant, so different in culture and the people and the food, and then it's just you miss it. You miss,
Yep.
your roots. So, but I guess, would you say that it helped to shape who you are and just become mentally
Oh,
stronger, just being able to?
absolutely. That mental toughness really came from this period. Um, yeah, I mean, so I didn't even realize the advantage I had. So when I was going through the NCAA system, for me, this was just the next stage after high school. Like that's in the U.S., that's just what we do, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
over there, there is no system. It's either you go professional after high school, you go to university, or you just get a job, you know. And I was like,
Mm,
well, yeah, but in university, you guys, there's no system set up that they compete against each other, if that makes sense. And so I thought, well,
interesting.
I don't understand. How do you guys grow from that? You know, and they're like, well, this is why people sign contracts right out of high school because there's no gap. There's nothing to almost ease that gap
Mm,
for Europeans, you know. And so they were so fascinated by the NCAA system. They were so fascinated about SEC and Big 12, and so they could not understand. But for me, this was the norm. And then I realized, wow, actually having this experience, you know, was advantageous when I was competing against them. Having the
mm-hmm.
experience of training day in and day out at such a high level with really the cream of the crop, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it really like they would just watch me train, you know, and so all these things help mold me to the person I am today, whether mental toughness or just I did not even realize the gifts I had until somebody else pointed them out, you know.
Mm,
They would say things like, "Wow, like so you knew Tim Tebow?" And I would say, "Yeah, like I saw him every single day." Man,
yeah.
what was that like? But for me, this was not. This was I see so many. I could name athlete after athlete after athlete that is
Yeah. Yeah.
professional swimmer, professional Ryan Lochte was swimming at the gym
Yeah.
same time as me, and you know they're like, "Are you serious?" But for me, I did not see this as anything because I said, "Yeah, this is what college sports is like. Every school can
Mm-hmm.
say they have somebody, you know." And so, you know, really, this helped mold me to who I am now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, and so, I remember being there. Like, how do you know how far you were from like Russell Square area? Because that's where actually I stayed.
No, no, no. But I
That's
wasn't
okay.
actually like in London. Like I was two
Oh,
hours
okay.
north of London, so I was
No,
really
okay.
in the middle of nowhere. So that is when I
Oh,
say
so
when I
you're
was
far,
in the
far.
wilderness. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like to get to London was 2 hours by train.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, I was in the
Yeah.
outskirts.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, scratch that.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, yeah. So now, you talked about being thinking and just being mentally prepared for this 2020
hmm
Olympic Games in Tokyo. How do you prepare for this one differently than any previous game before?
yeah. So I don't even look at it as an Olympic year. Yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
media and social and all this other stuff. Yeah, it's great to talk about Olympic Games, World Championships, but for me,
Mm-hmm.
I have a goal, and
Yeah.
I know I cannot do the same thing I did the last previous years because I didn't reach that goal. So every year it's just comparing what you've done in the past and finding a way to fine tune that to switch that up to get a different result. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've got experience, you know, under my belt now. I've got momentum behind me because I'm the reigning champion. There's a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
factors and variables, but at the end of the day, I've got a goal that I'm chasing, and that is the
Yeah.
world record, and it's a distance, you know. And so I think if I can, regardless of the year, if I can lift more efficiently. So it's not about lifting more weight, but if I'm lifting with better technique, if I'm able to stay healthy through more
Mm-hmm.
periods and I can successfully train more consistently, if I'm staying on top of my recovery, all these different pieces
Mm-hmm.
add up together to
Yeah.
achieving your goal. And so, yeah, of course, I want to be. I mean, I've got things everywhere with Tokyo 2020. I mean, it's on my
Mm-hmm.
keys.
Yeah.
I see it all around me. Yeah, I realize it's Olympic year, and this is a
Mm-hmm.
goal. I want to go. My life dream was to go to one Olympics. Now I'm actually possibility of winning a third gold. It's completely crazy what God did, but yeah, at the end of the day, my goal is to be the world record holder, you know, and
Yeah.
that is my focus. And so I don't attack this year any differently than I attack any other year. And this for
Mm-hmm.
me takes that pressure off of, you know, people going to the Olympic trials. No, for me it's a trials. You're trying to
Mm-hmm.
qualify for a team.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
different name, but at the end of the day, like you trying out for a team,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to give more effort for an Olympic trials than I do for World Championship trials that I do for it's you going to represent the U.S. for
Mm-hmm.
international competition. At the end of the day, that's it. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
simplifying that has been very helpful. But even again, tying back to the kids, when I'm telling them, hey guys, because we talk about setting goals, short term goals,
Mm-hmm.
long term goals, and I say, hey, my short term goal I want to be able to lose weight and cut out the sweets and stuff because I love cakes and stuff like this. And my long term goal
Yeah.
is to be the world record holder. And
Mm-hmm.
they look at me and they just say, well, why don't you just jump further? That's
Yeah.
it. And so sometimes it's so simple. Well,
Yeah.
if cakes are your weakness, stop eating cakes. And I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, but obviously, like I would have to fast over them if it wasn't a challenge. But yeah, when
Yeah.
it comes down to it, sometimes you just have to simplify things. You can get so
Mm-hmm.
fancy and try this and that, but
Mm-hmm.
if you just simplify, hey, what am I working towards, and what are the steps I need to get to? That is how I approach year after year.
Mm. Mm. Love it. And so as an athlete, as a pretty good athlete, I see that Dana Asher Smith and many others have supported your initiative for
Right?
Athletics Association.
Yep.
Give us a little insight as to why it's important to have a group like this that people can support and stand by.
Yeah, I really appreciate you giving me a platform to speak about this. But as you said, it is an initiative to give athletes a voice, to just make athletes aware of the power imbalance that is in place. It
Mm-hmm.
you can see something, recognize it, but not do anything about it, and it's lost. It's a waste. And
Mm-hmm.
year after year, as a top athlete, I recognized things were not in order. But who was like, why is nobody making a change? And
Mm.
I again with this, I spoke to my pastors, I spoke to my fiance, everything. And I was just like, God has put
Yeah.
this on my heart that I just need to just start something up. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
who's gonna support me. I don't know, like
Yeah.
I don't know who's
Yeah.
gonna have my back. Maybe I'm just a clown out here, but this is just on
Mm.
my heart. And if the Holy Spirit is telling me go for something, like I do it. Like there's so many times, like really, God has been like, hey, just go pray over this person. Hey, give that person $1. Like, uh, go give that person a word of encouragement. I can give you
Mm.
like crazy examples of what God has just like pushed me towards. And every time I did it, they like it's always just been a breakdown. Like you got no idea what I've been going through. I
Mm.
really needed this. I needed to hear that. I really received that. Blah blah. Blah. And so again, with the association, like I was just constantly looking like, when is somebody gonna step up? When's somebody gonna step up? Like
Mm. That was
we all
you.
sitting around the table, like complaining. When somebody
Yeah.
gonna do something? And God was like, yeah, you feeling so passionate about it because I've called you to do it. And I was like,
Exactly.
nah. You know how it is. It's like God pushing you towards something, you like, nah, not now. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not
Mm.
qualified. Like
Mm.
I know somebody that's good for it, and I'll
Yeah.
support it,
Yeah.
but I'm not trying to be in the spotlight. And
Yeah.
again, I was just praying over, talking to my pastors, talking to my fiance. We were all praying over it and stuff, and everybody was like, "CT, it's you, like you,
Mm.
you." And I'm like, man, I ain't trying to hear that. Like, I'm about to get married.
Mm.
I got the Olympic Games coming. Like, we all got so many excuses, yeah. And
Yeah.
they were like, "You are connected. You're gonna get the support. Just put something out there." And I was like, "Nope,
Mm.
no, not now." And eventually, World Athletics put out, things saying events have been removed from the Diamond League series,
Yeah.
and
I remember reading
more
that.
changes and stuff. And I was just like, I'm not gonna even go to another table and sit around and just talk about what's wrong with the sport. I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I reached out to a few athletes and I was like, look, I'm just gonna let you know this is like the effort that I'm trying to put out. You can stand with me or not. Like no hard feelings. I respect you as an athlete, but if you do, I appreciate the help because if I get your support, it's gonna be heard, louder. And everyone was like, yeah, CT, I got you. And I
Yeah.
couldn't believe that everyone like bought in. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for it. So I made a social media post and put it out there. And I mean, just fans, um, sponsors, athletes,
Mhm.
everyone was like, yeah. I mean, people from outside the sport were like, absolutely. Like, it's about
Yeah.
time. Like, we do something. And
Mm.
I just
Mhm.
thought, now I regret not doing it, earlier because I'm like,
Mhm.
man,
Yeah.
I'm wasting this time. How did I let it get so far? And I mean, I've had really a close friend of mine, Jeff. He's really just helped me just kind of structure the thing and just be
Mhm.
just very strategic about how we go about things. And we put this out there, and the media attention was just crazy. I was just calls, calls,
Yeah.
calls, emails, and then I just spoke to some athletes from all different. I mean, just all places of the world, and I was like, look, we need people to realize this is not a U.S. issue. This is not,
Mhm.
like a field issue, like the jumpers issue, but this affects all the track and field athletes. And yeah, everyone was like, hey, just tell me where to go, tell me what to do, and I got you,
Mhm.
And so getting someone like
Yeah.
who is, a crazy global name,
Mhm.
getting someone like Renaud Lavillenie, I mean, getting the champions. I don't put anybody on, any different levels and things, but I know that in our sport, champions are just recognized more. Champions are heard more. Their voice,
Yeah. Yeah.
not that it's a stronger voice, but it's just heard more. And so I was
Mhm.
like, okay, strategically, let me reach out to the champs because then I can go to the World Athletics and say, look, the people on top aren't happy. And this is normally the opposite. Normally, the people on
Mm.
top are the ones that are like, look, we're good. We're making
Mhm.
money. We're getting, no, no, no. But the people on top aren't happy. So this should
Yeah.
show you that trickling down that there's really a problem. And
Yeah.
yeah, that got their attention very quickly. We got to meet with them in Monaco and sit down, and then they said, okay, make something happen. If you guys really want change, come together
Mhm.
make this association real and let us know your demands, and we're gonna make change. And so that is the aim, that we it's not that we need to be driving the sport and directing and doing all the deals and stuff. No, but we just need to be in the circles that when changes are being made, that athletes are being spoken to. That's it. We don't want to
Mhm.
just find out about what change has been made, but hey, we're proposing this, we're considering this. How do y'all feel about it? Or
Mm.
not just how do y'all feel, but if y'all not happy with it, what would y'all propose? And
Yeah.
that is the dialogue. I believe we're human beings. Like the product is only good if the product and the people organize it are working together. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's just when the athletes realize there's no show without them, then their voice can be heard,
Yeah.
and that's what we're trying to do. Just empower the athletes.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So it sounds like you had your burning bush moment and you didn't know all the answers, but and that's okay because sometimes we don't always know the answers like the what and the how, but we
Right.
just know why. And so that's I love your boldness and your courage to do that.
Man.
So that's awesome. And so there's some people out there that that they want to pursue what they love. They want to. We talked about we're talking about purpose and pursuing
Yeah.
that burning bush and knowing your why. And so for people out there, they're successful people like Bill Gates. You have Mark Zuckerberg who dropped out of
Mm.
college, and you're one of those. But I think your story is unique in the way that you were able to achieve success, but also not just leave college, achieve the success, but you came back to college like why? Like most people
Yeah.
would have been like, "That's crazy." But what was your reason?
Um, I'd like to say I promised my mom, and I made this, but to be honest, I
Hmm.
always want to finish what I start, and I
Yeah.
did 3 years at the university. I had basically one and a half left, and I thought,
Hmm.
why? I'm gonna. I cannot run forever, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I love the sport, and I want to do it as long as I'm loving it. But at the end of the day, there's life after it. And
Hmm.
in this world, if you don't have this paperwork to show that, hey, I completed something, because every time I
Yeah.
fill out anything, they're saying highest education level, and I'm saying
Hmm.
some college classes or high school diploma, and I'm thinking, what if I'm eliminated just for this, and even now having a bachelor's is, it's almost like having a high school because everyone's got a bachelor's now. So it's like now I have to get
Yeah.
a master's.
Yeah.
and it's like, all right, so now I'm already thinking what master's program I'm going to get into because but it was me just thinking forward that I cannot jump forever, I cannot run forever. The
Mm-hmm.
sport has been extremely good to me. I've traveled. This sport has been tremendous. Like I got nothing but positive things to say about how blessed this chapter of my life has been. But at the end of the day, it's a chapter. The page will
Mm-hmm.
turn, and I don't foresee myself being a coach. I don't, I love the sport, but that's not my passion.
Mm-hmm.
Mentoring and doing things like this are very near to my heart, and I would love to continue that. But actually, being in the track and field, an agent, a coach, and things, that's not my where my heart is. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was just going back to finish that for me.
Yeah.
Really just
Yeah.
saying, hey, I started it. And I want to be able to, I've got the frame. I want to be able to just hang that up and be like, look, I completed what I started.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other parts of that question is, what are some practical tips that you would give to maybe somebody who's out in college or somebody who's in trade school or whatever the case may be, and they're just scared to make that leap like you did, and just scared to pursue whatever it is that they want to do, but they know that they are one good at, and two they would really love what that thing is.
It's Yeah, it's scary. Like I can't say that taking these leaps of faith are it gets better. It doesn't. I had to take a
Mm,
leap of faith with the association. I didn't want to do it. I openly was like, God, I hear you saying I'm called, but I don't want to do it. So
mm,
trust me, like I don't have the answer. I wish somebody would tell me. So if you're doing a podcast and somebody's like, I got the answer, please let me know. But
mm,
all I would say is if you love it, you're gonna find a way to make it happen.
yeah,
My life was so busy. I mean, life was great. I was traveling and stuff, but I was like, at some point, I need to finish my degree, and
yeah,
I did that for me. And so you find a way. If you love it, if it means that much, you're gonna find a way to make it happen. I
mm,
I mean, I'm sure you've seen like Pursuit of Happiness. Like for me, this
love that movie.
movie touches me in so many different ways because Will
Mm,
Smith was so determined to have a better life for himself, but also to give his son, to give his wife a better life. Like he was like, I am too gifted to be in the situation I'm in. He recognized that. And he
mm,
hustled his butt off all movie. It was like door was closed, people left him like but he stayed focused on that. You just cannot lose focus on that. And if you feel a calling, if you have a gift, if you and you recognize, look, like I'm not where I need to be, it
mm,
wasn't easy for him. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like but if you're being called to that, like you just got to do it.
mm,
If it fails the first time, that doesn't mean it was not meant to be. It just
yeah,
means that was not the right road. You just got to
mm,
backtrack and find the next one. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
there's a difference if you're called to something or if you just want to do something. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Like a
yeah.
lot of people are like, oh, I want to do this, so like I want to be a DJ, so I'm gonna be the best. But if you ain't got a gift
Mm.
for if you tone deaf, you ain't supposed to be a DJ. You see what I'm saying? So there's a difference with somebody's like,
Yeah.
hey, I got talent, I got a gift, like I'm great with graphic design, like I could just see
Mhm.
things and I can put things together. That's a gift. You should
Mhm.
pursue that. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like instead of the other side where it's like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't have it. So yeah, I think you just got to
Yeah.
recognize those things. But I would say with anybody listening, like it's not easy. It is scary. It's
Mhm.
difficult. But if you love it, if you've been called to it, if you have a gift for it, like go for it. Go
Mhm.
for it. Because at the end of the day,
Mhm.
what do you have to lose? If it does
Yeah.
not work out, you're exactly where you are right now. But at least you
Exactly.
tried.
Yeah, at least you tried. So that's important. So, um you're we talked about just earlier. I hinted on just the why aspect of life,
Yeah.
and I wanted to get a little bit deeper into that. What do you feel like your why and purpose is in life? Not just your position as
Mm.
an athlete, as a triple jumper, but what is your why?
Um. Yeah. So why? I mean, I could answer this in so many things, but what I what I believe, and this is what I'm praying over all the time, that
Mhm.
everything I do, that somebody's life is changed in a godly way, if that makes sense. So whether that's
Mhm.
track and field, whether that is, like I said, just I mean, speaking to somebody on the street, whether that's, I mean, any encounter I have, I just always hope that somebody either encounters God, somebody hears something in some kind of way. Like for me, that's my why. That's why I do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Before I always wanted to make people happy, you know, and I'm like, man, if I could just make your day, if I could just cheer you up, if you're in a bad place, like that was important to me, you know, like if I
Yeah.
could make somebody laugh, I did something because you never know what
Mm-hmm.
somebody's going through, you know, and
Yeah.
then I thought it's got to be a bit deeper than that because
Mm-hmm.
that happiness is short lived. You can laugh and
Mm-hmm.
then 10 minutes later you go back to your regular life. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then I started thinking, well, I've got this platform for a reason. I've been put on this earth for a reason. And I mean, we've
Mm-hmm.
all been called, like, we're all to be disciples, you know? And so
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
thought, if everything I do, if somebody gets if somebody hears something or somebody sees something in what I'm doing, like, again, with social media, I can get so many encounters of people being like, man, through that post, I just, like, I felt something. I received something. And I'm like, for real? Man, I was just
Mm-hmm.
like I just said happy Monday, you know, but it's like, man, I just needed to hear that. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
it's moments like this that I'm like, all right, God, like I planted the seed, do your thing. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
you can run with it, but I gotta at least throw the seeds out and so it's just things like this that I'm like in everything I do and because you I mean, as you know, you never know who's listening, you never know who's watching. You never
Mm-hmm.
know. Really. I've gone to Applebee's and people come over and be like, man, I honestly I promise you, whether every time we go out, because my fiance and I like we're Christians, you know, so we always pray
Mm-hmm.
before we eat. And without fail, at least 50% of the time, somebody comes over and they're like, man, I can't believe it. It's shocking that people are like, I can't believe that you guys actually just prayed before your meal. But they're not shocked that we prayed before the
Mm-hmm.
meal. They're shocked that we did it publicly. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we don't do it to be seen. We do it because we're
Mm-hmm.
like, dear Lord, we are starving. Thank you for this food. Bless the hand, you know, the people in the back that made it. Like we were. So sometimes we are ready to eat, where we just say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, thank you for this food.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when it comes to that, it's just crazy that everything I do, that's my why. That people see God through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's great. That's great. Um and so you talked about just knowing that, you know your why. You know that you are on this earth beyond just being an athlete.
Right.
And so I look at life as a house, and so that's the analogy that I like to use. Life
Hmm.
is like a house, and you know, there's so many things that take to construct the house. And what does your house stand on? Outside of the things that you may have already mentioned, along with faith, along with love, along with
Yep.
family. What would you say as a pillar or a value that your house stands on? Relating to the foundation of it all.
I outside of faith, I can't think of any because for me, everything
Mm,
always goes back to that. Like
yeah.
I really I I cannot think outside of that because I would say, but this is how the center of everything. Everything I do, I want it to be centered around that, you know. And it's not to be too
Hmm.
godly or too, but it's like,
Yeah.
why would I base my life on anything else? Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I'm like, yeah. In the Bible, it talks about building a house. Like, do not build your house on sand. Do not
Yeah.
build, like. So it
Foolish man.
actually tells us
Yeah.
where to construct our house, you know. But it's like if and I had this conversation today, with Tokyo Olympics coming up, I'm thinking, okay, what sponsors do I need to reach out to? Blah, 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 blah. But then I thought,
Mm,
if I have faith in God, knowing that He will provide whatever I need, what am I even worried about that for? You see what
mm,
I'm saying? So it's like even daily, there's things I'm constantly encountering and stuff, but then I'm like, but if I put it in God's hands and I'm like, Lord, I know you're gonna provide. I know you're gonna look after this. This is not saying that I can sit back and just be like, take the wheel. Like
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta at least meet him halfway. You know what I'm saying? I cannot become Olympic champion if I don't train. but I have
Mm-hmm.
to also train and I give my hardest, knowing that if it's His will, it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that's what I'm saying. Everything I do, from training to eating to these conversations, everything I do, that is my foundation. It's my
Yeah,
faith.
I like it, man. Ah, man. So we have transitioned now into the phase of where we call question of the day. So it's
Okay.
a little bit, on we've come from the deep waters and now we're
Yep.
rising back to the surface level. So
Cool.
what would you say your favorite Disney character movie of all time is?
Ooh, Disney character. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Wow. Dang.
Got him.
That's that's tough. Yeah. Shoot, I don't even
Yeah.
know the last Disney. Man, I
There's
uh
Mufasa. There's
that is
Tarzan.
good.
There's so many out there. Or
Yeah, I
or
don't.
maybe a movie. Maybe would a movie would that make it more narrow, like, or to help out?
Is Avatar Disney or is that not Disney?
I think that was Nickelodeon.
Oh.
Yeah. With the are you
Mm.
talking about with the blue people or the one with
Yeah,
the
the blue people.
less everything? Maybe. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure
Or
if it
Toy
is.
Story? Is that Disney?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's hey. There
Okay.
we go. There we go.
I just
So,
watched Toy
Woody,
Story.
Buzz
Well, I
Lightyear,
watched
who
Toy
who
Story
are you
4.
feeling? Who do you feel like you connect
Buzz
more with?
Lightyear for sure.
Buzz Lightyear. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, he jumps. He's a flyer, so I'm like,
Yes,
cool.
sir. Yep, that's right. So, thank you again so much. I really appreciate you joining us on the show and just sharing your insights and your story. So,
Absolutely.
for everybody out there, we just want to thank you guys for joining on this particular episode, and we want you to be sure to follow Christian on Instagram at Tailored to Jump. That's TAYLORED, the number two, just jump. That's Tailored to Jump and follow his journey into the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. Thank you again for joining us. Man, it's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate your time.
All right, take care. Bye now.
Thanks, man.